The way I became interested in this topic was I took a training offered by the Pachamama Alliance on Project Drawdown. Drawdown is the title of a book written by or edited by Paul Hawkins. Paul Hawkins brought together a group of scientists from around the world to study what are the solutions that are already out there. Nothing that we need to invent, just things that we could upscale in order to draw down the CO2s, the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And as a result of all of that research, they put together this book, Drawdown, and have subsequently been offering trainings to different communities to help disseminate the information. After the training, we broke into subgroups based on our particular interests in the various topics and solutions that were presented. I joined a group that was interested in the solution of food waste reduction. We were drawn to this topic for a couple reasons. One was because, as you can see from this chart, of the top 10 solutions ranked by what's most effective, it was the number 3 solution, reducing food waste. So that was certainly a motivator. The other was we realized one of the solutions for reducing food waste was getting food to people. And this just seemed like such a great combination of improving the environment at the same time as getting food to people. We learned that if we wasted just 15% less food, we could feed 15 million Americans. So we were pretty motivated to see what we could do to work on this topic. Now, the book was written in 2017, but just this year, Project Drawdown came up with an updated information on the various options that are out there. And as you can see in this diagram, and I encourage you to go to the Drawdown website. They have wonderful, wonderful information, very well laid out. But you can see in this slide that there are the different sectors, one of which is the land agriculture uses that put the CO2s into the environment. These are the sources that we want to diminish going into the atmosphere. They've also added, if you can see on the right side of the diagram, the current sinks. These are the things that actually sink the CO2s and the greenhouse gases into the earth. Now, the reason I mention this is you can see on this slide, this is the sector food, agriculture, and land use. And within this, in the bottom left corner, you can see reduce food waste. This is the sector that we've been focusing on. But there's many other aspects to our food that are very key to this problem. How we grow our food, what foods we eat. And the reason I'm making a point of this is because every day when we buy our food, when we shop, we are making decisions about which farmers are we supporting. You've heard the saying, maybe know your farmer. Now, if you're fortunate enough to have a farmer's market where you can go and talk to your farmers, this is really ideal to actually learn how are they growing your food, what practices are they using, and is it working to enrich the soil and to sequester carbon, or are they practices that release more CO2s into the environment? Now, Paul Hawkins summed this up very well in this quote: "No industry has a bigger impact on climate change than agriculture and food. Both are a source of the problem and as a solution." So both as a source of the problem and as a solution. That's what our food and agriculture sectors offer us. We want to look at why bother about this issue? What does it really matter? So to begin with, we want to realize that worldwide, 1/3 of the food is wasted every year. And that comes to $1,500 for a family of 4. That's a lot of food and a lot of money being wasted. If we want to look in the US, 40% of the food is wasted. That's 1.3 billion tons of food. Now, it's interesting to note that in low-income countries, most of the food is wasted early in the supply chain. This has to do with infrastructure issues. It's how the plants do or don't get watered. What kinds of systems do we have in place? It's, are they able to refrigerate the food once it gets harvested? Can they get it to market? Do they have the roads and the infrastructure? So this is where most of the waste happens early on in low-income countries. In high-income countries, it happens later in the food chain. This is due to issues such as food being outright rejected because it doesn't fit the standards of what an apple should look like or a carrot should look like. So there's also issues around ordering too much. And of course, where it gets personal for each of us is, are we forgetting something in the back of the fridge that over time becomes wasted? When food does go bad, when it spoils and we throw it into the trash, it goes to the landfill, and as it degrades, it emits carbon dioxide and methane, methane being even more destructive to the environment than even the CO2s. So we really want to see what we can do to prevent food going to the landfill. Now, as you can see in this diagram, 15% of what goes to municipal landfills is food. This is second only to paper. So there's a lot of opportunity there for us, each individually, to stop that food from going to the landfill. We want to look at just what is food loss or waste. Food that was originally meant for human consumption, that's what food loss or food waste is. It's food originally meant for human consumption, but for various reasons it's removed from the food chain, even if it eventually ends up as compost or biofuels or feed for animals. So this is food that was originally meant for humans that doesn't make it onto the plate. So what is it that gets wasted? 50% of seafood gets wasted, 48% of fruits and vegetables. We have 38% of grains, 22% of meat, and 20% of milk. That is a lot of food getting wasted. I think one of the big ahas for myself and many others in the group was the realization that it's not just the actual food that's getting wasted, it's everything that went into creating that food. It's all of the water that was used to irrigate those fields. It's the land that was used to grow all of that food. It's the land that's currently getting clear-cut in order to grow more food and to graze animals when we're already wasting what we have. It's the energy that we use to run the tractors, to drive the vehicles, to get the food to market. And it's the human energy. It's the people who are out in those fields planting the seeds, growing, nurturing that food, weeding the fields, harvesting the food. It's all of that energy that's wasted. And then it's the capital. It's the money that was used to pay those people. It's the money used to buy the gasoline, to run the refrigeration. All of those things combined are what are being wasted when we throw that piece of food into the trash can rather than making the best use of it. So just a couple other points on this. The irrigation water used globally to grow food that's wasted would be enough for the domestic needs of 9 billion people. And all of the world's nearly 1 billion hungry people could be lifted out of malnourishment on less than a quarter of the food that's wasted in the US, UK, and Europe. Let me repeat that. All the world's nearly 1 billion hungry people could be lifted out of malnourishment on less than a quarter of the food that's wasted in the US, UK, and Europe. So where does this food get wasted? This was another big aha for myself and others in the group. I had assumed that it was grocery stores, restaurants, big institutions that were wasting most of the food. I recall one evening being at a restaurant at all-you-can-eat buffet at closing time, and was just shocked to see them roll out a waste bin and go down the line and take tray by tray and dump it into the trash can. But no, this isn't the main source of the waste. It is our homes. It's close. It's 43% for our homes, 40% for restaurants and supermarkets. Nonetheless, besides the horror of the reality of this, again, it shows us the opportunity that we have here to reduce the food waste that's going to the landfills.